Return of the Mount Hua Sect. Chapter 249. Don't say that yet. The disciples of Mount Hua couldn't stop their trembling hearts for a whole day. Can a person's body change so much? Oh my, I woke up this morning and banged my head to the ceiling. Why? I was about to get up, but my body jumped up to the ceiling. It has to be something like when they say, when your body isn't your body. The power of the heavenly violet pill was amazing. No, it was more than that. Who would have imagined that their bodies would change so much with just one pill? They thought it would just increase their internal ki, but it felt like it had changed the components inside their body into better functioning ones. In particular, those who had eaten the plum blossom pills Chongmyeon had given them in the past knew how great a pill could be. Is the bathroom still crowded? Man, I've been peeing the whole day today. Just die. What nonsense is that? For real. Most of the disciples were unable to take out the turbid ki in the body like Baekchun had done. So, the explosion of the waste in the body didn't happen in the same way. This meant that it would drain for several days to come. The purification of the body. It was obtained by ingesting only one form of ki. Of course, there would still be differences, since the method of utilization was varied, but this was still a tremendous achievement for them. Nobody could hide their excitement, even while eating. No one stopped talking all throughout their meal. Everyone seemed to be drunk on this feeling. It was a simple sentence that calmed them all down. Aren't we bound to get stronger than the Mount Hua we know? Everyone went silent as they heard it, and they looked at the direction the question had come from. The Baek disciple who had said it had a bewildered look. He hadn't thought that one sentence would bring out such a reaction. This reaction wasn't due to the disciples thinking that it was just a joke. Rather, it was because it didn't sound like a joke. Of course, no one was unaware of the fact that Mount Hua had declined. This was because their sect leader used to keep talking about the glory of Mount Hua in the past. But most of the disciples here were people who had been forced to train by Chongmyeon, who had caught them by their hair. Recently, the other Sahyongs were also turning into Chongmyeon. And what would have sounded like a dream before was now slowly starting to give shape to itself. Nothing is impossible, right? Brat, those words. No, I don't know how strong Mount Hua of the past was, but we are getting stronger too. We beat the Jongnam sect and our Sahyongs took down the Wudang disciples. We are getting strong too. Maybe you will change your mind after being hit by Chongmyeon. In other words, it is us who are able to withstand that monster. Everyone had serious faces as they heard that. Actually, no one knew how strong they were because none of them had the chance to go and test it out. They could only listen to the stories of Baekchun and Chongmyeon. Baekchun had been stronger than the Wudang disciple before he even had the heavenly violet pill. Then how strong is Baekchun now? And how strong are the others? I am sure of one thing. When Baeksang spoke, everyone looked at him. That dream doesn't have to be impossible now. Everyone nodded. Remember this, everyone. Why did Baekchun Sahyong, Yu Same, and the third-class disciples go to Yunnan? It is because they wanted to make this pill for us disciples. We need to work harder to repay them. Yes, Sahyong. I will do my best, Sasuk. Baeksang nodded his head. Eat a lot. Eat and train yourself till you die. Then what we have spoken of now will not be a dream someday. Yes. The disciples answered loudly. Watching their faces, Tang Soso sat in the corner, eating. They aren't joking. The power of the heavenly violet pill, which even she had experienced, was beyond common sense. Despite being from the Tang family, she had never known that such a pill even existed. A purple pill. She looked at the focused eyes of the disciples of Mount Hua. Is there another place in Gangho which has so many people with such internal ki? Even Shaolin wouldn't be able to go against this. Of course, she hadn't seen the Shaolin sect in person, so this is just a guess. But no matter what she thought, she felt as though Mount Hua was on top of the world when it came to internal energy at this point. And if martial arts could be added to the fray, then what would the situation be? That dream will never stay as just a dream. Tang Soso bit her lip. Everyone was burning with passion, but she didn't want to just keep watching it since she too was a disciple of Mount Hua now. I need to do my best too. She had enough ki now to sufficiently support her training, even for her to even become a famous warrior. Even she wanted to get her name known by the world. She wanted to be known as the female swordsman of Mount Hua, Tang Soso, rather than just as the daughter of the Tang family. From tomorrow, I will train till my death. But she didn't know what it meant for the disciples to have Chongmyung back in the sect. Tang Soso's legs moved on forward on an endless cliff. Save me! Crack. A place where someone had stepped on seemed to be breaking down little by little. Tang Same, calm down! Tang Soso barely came to her senses at the shout of someone and grabbed hold of a rock with a pale face. I didn't have to do this for a while because that bastard wasn't here. I thought this would be more comfortable with my new body. Darn it. It is too early for me to die. Tang Soso raised her trembling hands and grabbed onto the stones. And she pulled her body up. Of course, she too was a warrior. Although she didn't learn the Tang family's legacy, she had been training her ki constantly. Besides that, the ki of the heavenly violet pill she had consumed was supposed to help her. No matter how steep the cliff was, she wasn't someone who couldn't climb it. That would be, of course, if it wasn't for the string tied around her waist. Tang Soso glanced down. She looked at the rope that was tied to her waist, which in turn secured a large boulder. Tang Soso, who was looking at the rock hanging in the air, wanted to scream, but she didn't. No! How can someone climb a cliff carrying this? Have you lost it? Tang Same, don't shout! She lifted her head and looked at the summit. Her eyes were red. That crazy bastard! In any case, he was a man she had wanted to marry at one point. But now that she had found out what his true nature was, she didn't want to do it. What is with this place? Mount Hua was a place where extremely uncommon things kept happening. This nonsensical place! Every sect had its own training method. Even if it was absurd and dangerous, it had to be respected. But what was the problem? In which sect does the third-class disciple train a second-class one? As far as she knew, Chongmyung was a third-class disciple. But among those who were climbing the cliff now, there were numerous Beck disciples. So the amazing thing happening here was that a third-class disciple was training a second-class disciple. No, right. If I let go of common sense 100 times, maybe I'll be able to understand this. I can understand. Tang Soso glanced towards the bottom of the cliff. But why not stop it? If such nonsense was happening, someone should speak up. But the undisciples who were supposed to do that didn't stop Chongmyung. Even if you fall, you won't get hurt. Don't worry. We are here for you guys down below. So, it will hurt less even if you fall. They had said such words so casually from the bottom. Wasn't that bound to be shocking? Tang Soso stretched out her hand. Same, a little more. Come on. Had it not been for her encouraging sayongs, she would have already fallen down much earlier. But now, the summit wasn't too far away. She clenched her teeth and climbed up. Finally, she succeeded in climbing it. As though the thought of standing up hadn't even gone through her mind, she immediately collapsed to the ground. It felt like there was dirt going into her mouth, but she didn't have the energy to spit it out. In fact, until a while ago, she could never imagine this happening to her. As the daughter of the Tang family, she was educated to act dignified at all times. But now, she was spread out on the dirty floor, half dead. Tang Soso touched the ground with both hands and tried to get up. Eventually, she could see the view from the top.
Ugh, I feel like I will die. Ugh.
The heavenly violet pills made the disciples strong, but the increase in strength was always relative. If one wanted to become truly strong, they needed to train accordingly. Looking at her Sahyoungs, constantly sitting down and getting back up with the rock on their back, she had a puzzled expression.
Aren't they all crazy? Where in the world is there a sect that practices like this? Did I come to this place on my own feet?
Her eyes were shaking in fear and confusion as she looked at Chongmyung. But unlike the Sahyoungs, he was calm. This wasn't a strange sight, because Chongmyung was often like this. If there was a problem to be nitpicked from his current disposition, it would probably be that he was lying on the rock the size of a house that Baekchun had been pulling. Damn it! On top of the rock that constantly went up and down without a break, Chongmyung chewed the jerky.
You're slowing down, Sasuk.
Baekchun groaned like a beast for a second and then went back to his task.
Right. Good. Very good.
Chongmyung was smiling. Tang Soso's mouth was wide open. Just what was this tragic thing she was seeing?
Everyone has lost it. Where would one practice like this? No matter what, this is ruining their bodies. No one in the Tang family trains like this.
It was the moment she was about to complain.
What are you doing? Huh?
Chongmyung looked at her.
Why aren't you training? This training.
She wanted to say something, but she didn't. She looked at Baekchun doing his training. Then she looked at Yu Yisol training at the same speed and intensity as Baekchun. She even had the same rock too. The face Tang Soso most admired was now covered in dirt and sweat, but Yu Yisol was completely concentrating on her training. Tang Soso clenched her fist as she saw this.
Why?
When Chongmyung asked her that, Tang Soso looked up at him.
Excuse me. It isn't excuse me, but excuse me, Sahyoung. Yes, Sahyoung. So what? Can I have another rock? Do what you want. Yes.
Tang Soso found another suitable rock and piled the two of them up before beginning her training. Seeing that, Chongmyung smiled.
She's adapting well. It is good to have a goal. It's nice to have someone to follow.
Chongmyung clicked his tongue as he heard the groans coming from around him.
You have been fed with so many good things, so why are you struggling so much?
You crazy bastard! You do it then, you idiot! I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Even if I cannot kill him, I want to stab him in the back. All of the disciples glared at Chongmyung, but he didn't even care.
If the body gets better, then you need to train harder. Right, Sasuk?
Baekchun trembled. Right, of course we have to. What did I expect from you? In the eyes of Chongmyung, although they had grown, they were all just a little bit more powerful than before. What difference would the same version with little growth matter to him? Besides, he had a knack for making people do what he wanted them to, and now he would be happy making strong people roll on the ground for him. Baekchun, who was now an expert in Chongmyung, sighed at the thought of more hardships that would come for him. And sitting above the rock on Baekchun, Chongmyung looked at everyone.
They can do this?
He had initially thought that this would be too much, but it seemed as though the effectiveness of the heavenly violet pill was superior to what he had thought. It was clear that their bodies could be trained even more.
Then, shall we go to the next step soon?
He closed his eyes as he sat on the rock that kept going up and down.
When the training of the body is complete, there will only be one thing left. Swordsmanship. Now, they're like new wine in fresh bottles. Each of them needs a sword.
In the meantime, he had to steadily train their basics and increase their understanding. Now was the time to hand over the essence of Mount Hua to them. And there was nothing else that could be called the essence of Mount Hua apart from its swordsmanship. More accurately, the 24 movement plum blossom sword technique.
But How am I supposed to give it to them? Should I say I picked it up on the road? Ugh, this is such a headache.